Welcome to this explainer of the AI survival guide for non-tech professionals brought to you by joyfuture.ai. So, you know that feeling when you're using an AI tool and you kind of just wonder what exactly is happening inside that mysterious black box? You are definitely not alone in that. Today, we're going to lay down the absolute foundation for using AI responsibly, effectively, and confidently. And we're going to do that by answering the single most important question you can ask right now. What is AI actually doing beneath the surface? Because honestly, once we pull back the curtain and really understand that, the whole thing instantly becomes a lot less mysterious. And more importantly, it's going to help us avoid the two biggest traps of this entire new era. And those traps are fearing the technology way too much, or on the flip side, trusting it completely blindly just because it sounds so incredibly confident. We're going to find that middle ground today. Okay, so let's quickly outline our journey for today. First, we'll look at the hook and the illusion. Second, how AI actually works. Third, why capable AI fails. Fourth, we'll look at a predictive case study using Spotify. Fifth, the leadership imperative. And finally, we will wrap up with your AI survival skill. All right, section 1, the hook and the illusion. Let's talk about how we move past the so-called magic of artificial intelligence. I want you to imagine something. You ask an AI assistant to summarize a really dense, incredibly dry 100-page market research report. Or maybe you ask it to draft a strategy for a super difficult upcoming meeting you've been dreading. Seconds later, this highly polished, totally articulate answer just appears right on your screen. That experience feels almost magical, right? It sounds like someone incredibly smart has just sat down, read everything, and fully understood your highly specific, nuanced situation. But here's the thing you have to remember. A convincing response absolutely does not equal genuine understanding. See, because humans communicate through language, when a machine replies perfectly in our language, our brains immediately trick us. We instantly assume there has to be a mind or a consciousness at work there. It's just human nature. But this illusion is exactly what leads to blind trust. We assume the AI must have analyzed millions of data points flawlessly to give us that answer. Or conversely, it leads to reflexive rejection, where people just avoid the tools entirely because they don't understand the complex math behind it all. Well, neither of those extremes is necessary or helpful. So to break that illusion, we're going to use a really simple 4-part mental model of what actually happens the second you hit enter. Step 1. Data input. The system takes your prompts and receives data in a form a computer can actually process. Step 2, learns relationships. During its training phase, the AI has learned statistical relationships across just millions and millions of examples. Step 3, probable output. It uses those learned relationships to calculate and generate what it thinks is a likely response. And finally, step 4, and this is the crucial one, human judgment. A human being, that's you, must still decide whether that output is actually reliable and appropriate for your real-world situation. So no, AI is definitely not magic. But I will say, statistical learning working at this massive global scale, that is genuinely incredibly powerful. Moving right along to section 2, how AI actually works. Let's start with layer 1, which is all about turning real-world experience into raw data. There is such a stark contrast between us and the machine, and we need to understand it. Think about how we have to convert the messy, complicated physical world into a rigid format that a computer can actually understand. Human beings, we experience the world through this incredibly rich tapestry of meaning and context. For example, if a colleague leans over and says, "Well, that is an interesting idea," you intuitively interpret those words based on a ton of unspoken factors. You're reading their tone of voice, their body language, you're thinking about your past relationship with them, the history of the project you're working on. In that human context, interesting could mean they think it's absolutely brilliant, or it could be a polite way of saying it's a terrible idea, right? You know the difference. But a computer starts from a completely different place. It requires purely numerical representations. Text is literally chopped up into tiny units called tokens and converted into numbers. Images? They're just represented through grids of pixels. Even your actions online, like clicking a link, pausing a video, or scrolling past an article, they are stripped of all human intent and simply converted into behavioral data. This means that AI does not encounter the world directly at all. It works entirely through representations of data. It doesn't have a tidy little digital Wikipedia page of a cat stored away in a digital brain. It doesn't know what a cat is. It just processes endless examples and constantly adjusts millions of math equations until it figures out what specific statistical combinations of pointy ears and whiskers look like. All of this information is distributed across a massive, incredibly complex network of numerical parameters. And because of this, the AI's output is only as grounded and, quite frankly, only as accurate as the training data it was fed in the first place. If important real-world situations, where diverse human perspectives are completely missing from that initial training data, well, then the model's view of the world is going to be completely distorted. Okay, let's look at layer 2 of how AI works, producing what is likely to fit. To really understand this output phase, I want you to consider an unfinished sentence. If I were to say to you right now, please bring an umbrella, it looks like it is going to, you would immediately think rain. You didn't even have to try. Your lived experience tells you that the word rain fits that sentence perfectly, unlike a word like celebrate or microscope. A language model performs a vastly more complex, purely numerical version of this exact same process. Given the text it has seen so far in a prompt, it calculates the mathematical probabilities for all the possible next tokens. It selects one, and then it repeats that calculation again and again at extraordinary speeds. But, and this is a big but, this brings us to a massive warning sign that every professional needs to remember. Likely is not the same as true. Whether the system is flagging an anomaly in a medical image or generating an email for a marketing campaign, the AI is effectively just saying, hey, based on all my past data, this specific output appears most likely to fit the pattern. A probable answer is not necessarily a factual answer. Prediction is amazing, it's powerful, but likely and true are two entirely different concepts. That brings us to section 3, why capable AI fails. Let's take a minute to stress test this statistical model we've just built. Since we now know AI just predicts based on data patterns, its vulnerabilities become pretty easy to spot. Let's methodically walk through 4 key failure conditions you're going to encounter. First up, unrepresentative data. Imagine you have a hiring model that was trained entirely on one specific organization's past successful hires. That model might fail spectacularly if you try to use it in a completely different job market or in a different industry, simply because the data it learned from doesn't represent the new reality at all. Second, historical bias. Now, if past decisions in the training data mathematically favored one specific outcome or demographic over another, the AI is going to learn that statistical pattern, and it will replicate it perfectly. And it does this without any moral awareness of whether that pattern is actually desirable or fair today. Third, missing context. Say an AI drafts a change management memo for your team based on a new strategic plan you uploaded. It might sound great, but it completely misses the complex, sensitive history of staff morale in your department. Why? Because it only sees the text you provided. It literally cannot see the full human context. And fourth, plausible but ungrounded outputs. We often call these hallucinations. Because generative AI is literally built to continue sentences so they fit together perfectly, if it lacks actual facts, it might just confidently invent a totally fake legal case or a fake statistic just to make a paragraph flow flawlessly. The big takeaway here is that fluency can hide uncertainty. Just because the AI sounds incredibly confident, grammatically perfect, and authoritative does not mean it actually knows what it's talking about. It has no concept of certainty. This establishes a really vital, non-negotiable rule for all of us. Because AI is built to seamlessly continue a pattern, the higher the stakes of the decision you're making and the more unusual the situation is, the more human verification is absolutely required. All right, section 4. Let's make this super concrete with a predictive case study, grounding the statistical model in an everyday experience. We are going to look at something almost all of us use, a music app like Spotify. Let's imagine you're listening to some chill acoustic music on a Tuesday morning. Step 1, user actions. You finish a few songs, you replay one you really like, you save another to a playlist, and then you aggressively skip a really high-energy dance track after just 10 seconds because it totally ruined your vibe. Okay, step 2. To the AI, those human actions just become numerical signals. Step 3. The system then takes your signals and compares them with vast, sweeping patterns across millions of other listeners. It might notice that, statistically, people who enjoyed your specific acoustic songs also tended to enjoy a particular artist that you've personally never even heard of. Step 4. Candidate songs are mathematically ranked based on their estimated relevance to you in this exact moment. Step 5, the recommendation is served up to your screen, and guess what? Your response to that recommendation, whether you hit play or skip it, creates brand new signals, feeding right back into the loop. Notice what didn't happen here. The system never actually declared that one song is artistically or objectively better than another. It has no taste. It's simply making an incredibly fast, highly educated statistical guess based on behavioral similarities. Now, this table here vividly illustrates the boundary of machine capability, and it's so important for professionals to grasp. Think back to Spotify. The system might flawlessly recommend a quiet, moody piano playlist at midnight because of a behavioral pattern it detected, but it has absolutely no idea why you are listening to it. Are you pulling an all-nighter prepping for a massive board meeting? Are you trying to soothe a crying baby? It doesn't know. When we bring this into the workplace, the rules are exactly the same. AI can perfectly detect patterns in data, but it cannot understand meaning and lived experience. It might be able to accurately estimate the statistical likelihood that a key employee is going to quit in the next 6 months, but it absolutely cannot determine what the organization ethically or morally owes that employee. It can rapidly rank promising sales options or market strategies, but it cannot tell you which goal deserves priority based on your company's core values. Simply put, the AI provides the what, but you, the human, must always provide the why and the should. Joy Chen, the creator of the series, summarizes this entire dynamic perfectly. She says, I think of AI as a predictive mirror. It reflects relationships found in its training, the information available in the moment, and the way we frame our request. I love that analogy. Think about it. Every mirror has a frame, right? It can reveal patterns at a massive, breathtaking scale. But if the source data is incomplete, your reflection is going to be incomplete. And if you go in and ask the wrong question, or you frame your prompt poorly, the mirror is just going to give you a highly efficient, beautifully articulated answer to the completely wrong problem. It is a powerful tool for reflection, for sure, but it is not a source of independent wisdom. So let's bring this home to Section 5, the leadership imperative. This is why all of this technical background actually matters for you as a professional. True AI readiness in any organization requires 4 non-negotiable human checkpoints. We're talking about evidence, context, verification, and accountability. If you're a leader, you shouldn't just be asking what shiny new AI tool you need to buy this quarter. You need to be asking much deeper questions. What exactly are we asking the system to predict for us? What hard evidence supports its output? Does the AI actually have the full context of our business problem? How are we going to handle verification when the system inevitably hallucinates a fact? And crucially, most crucially, who is the human holding accountability for the final decision? Strong, resilient organizations don't just blindly automate their tasks. They thoughtfully redesign work by combining the raw scale of a machine with these distinctly human responsibilities.
And that perfectly tees up Section 6, your AI survival skill. For this episode, that skill is calibrated trust.
So, what is calibrated trust? It's simply the ability to perfectly match your level of oversight to the specific task at hand, the available evidence, and the potential consequences of getting it wrong. To put this into practice today, I want you to use this quick 5-question checklist before you rely on any AI recommendation. Number 1, what pattern is the system probably relying on here? 2, what data or behavioral signals are actually supporting this output? 3, what important real-world context might be totally missing from the AI's view? 4, what is the consequence if the output is just flat out wrong? I mean, if it's drafting a quick internal email, the consequence is low. If it's a major financial projection, the consequence is massive. And 5, who should verify this and own the final decision? Asking these 5 questions every single time is exactly what makes powerful, safe AI adoption actually possible in the real world.
To wrap this all up, AI is incredibly powerful precisely because it learns statistical relationships from massive amounts of data to generate probable outputs. That one simple truth explains both its breathtaking capabilities and its inherent hard-coded limits. It absolutely helps us work at an enormous scale, but it can never, ever relieve us of the human responsibility to define the goal and hold the line on accountability. If AI is just a predictive mirror, the most important question moving forward really isn't about what the AI can do, it's about what are you choosing to reflect into it. Next up in our Explainer series, we're going to tackle what happens after you enter a prompt. We're going to go inside generative AI to show exactly why better context is the absolute key to getting better answers. Until then, keep this in mind. Understand AI, apply AI, lead with AI. Joyfuture.ai.